Welcome to our podcast. Welcome to our podcast. Below the belt. Good to have each and every one of you here with us this morning, this afternoon rather, and we would rather it no other way, guys. Really happy that all of you are here with us and would have it no other way. Good to see you guys. Good to see each and every one of you. How are things going where you are? How are things how are things going where you are? Good to have each and every one of you here with us, with we, guys. How is the day going? Thanks to each and every one of you who joined the morning program this morning. We're still sorting out our audio. I can hear myself scratching and itching and all of that. The mic's too proper now. We have to recalibrate the mics for the morning program. But good to have all of you guys here with us and who joined us this morning for that program. Thanks for waking up so early in the morning. Some of you are perhaps like me. You ease into the morning. You want to be walking too early. Out too early. But thanks for joining us to the hundreds of you who joined the morning program with Jurita and I. Good to have you guys with us this morning, and even more privileged to have you guys below the belt with we. We're talking about them today, folks. Today we're talking about corporal punishment. Is it time to abolish? Is it time to abolish? I'm watching Dave in the studio here with us, and Dave said, "My name is teacher," and he said, "Fight them." I tend to be a little bit with Dave. We go fight them. Look, you better call me to school. I can make myself available. Don't touch me, child. Don't touch my children. That's how we feel. But is it time to abolish corporal punishment? We're going to be talking with Coretta McDonald. Coretta is the General Secretary of the Ghana Teachers Union and the head teacher herself. Who best to discuss this topic with than folks in the education system? And we know because this impacts them, children go to school, they get in all kind of trouble and so forth. Are there other ways of disciplining children? I say call me, talk to me, the parent. I can lash them, I can lash. I just don't trust you can lash them with the same way I can. I can get them some good wallops. I ain't sparing the rod and spoil the child. I ain't want you use the rod on me, child. That's where I am personally on this matter. Erwin Don Cook. Shirley the Ridder. Cherry Baskin Greenwich. Sherry, I ain't see you for a little while. Cherry. I ain't see you for a little while. Trevosa Williams. Good to see you. Fancy name. Patricia Grisandy Goodman. Good to see you as well. Why you know Patricia gets spot? Graves Andy Goodman. She's spoken for him. Please and thank you. Paula Mentis or Mathis. Paula Mattis. Good to see you, Paula. Good to see you, Paula. And all the other beautiful folks like Dawn Raymond. Good to see you, Claudette, Buffett Lewis, and Margaret Nelson. Yep. Margaret. How are you doing, Margaret? Shirley Juice Attendre, Vashti McNorth, all the way from Waterloo, Canada. And Jelly Abrams is here too, guys. We're so privileged to have each and every one of you. How is the weather where you are? How is the weather, guys? How is the weather? How is the weather? We're happy. We're happy that you guys are happy where you are and you're trying with the weather, whatever it is. They're telling us here it's 28 degrees outside. It's 28 degrees outside, and it feels, they're telling us. It feels like what? It feels like 34, according to weather.com. Y'all know there's a place we love to go for the weather. They say it's 28 degrees, but it feels it's warm enough to be 34. And they're telling us in like manner, there's a 4% chance it's going to rain, a 4% chance. And that increases during the course of the day, that percentage chance that it's going to rain. In the evening, there's a 9% chance, and overnight, 13% chance it's going to rain. And folks, this is particular to the national capital city, Georgetown, and by extension, parts of Region 4, if not all of Region 4. And they tell us in this part of the world, throughout the week, it picks up a little bit. There's a 39% chance of rain on Wednesday. Well, don't let me run through Wednesday. 24% chance it's going to rain tomorrow, Tuesday the 8th. There's a 28% chances. My God, where's my head today? There's a 39% chance it's going to rain on Wednesday, 49% chance it's going to rain on Thursday, and a 52% chance it's going to rain on Friday. So you need to watch that. Those folks who are joining us from the national capital city, that pertains to Abby, and this side of the Atlantic. Folks, we trust the weather is better where you are. Trusting that this weather is better. Claudette Bovin Lewis, how things by you? Elizabeth Nurain says it's cold and rainy in Sparkle City. she's speaking about Spartanburg, South Carolina. It's cold and rainy. Elizabeth, we're sending you some of this glorious sunshine from this part of the world, sending you that warmth, sending you that energy to help you, to bore you through the rain and cold there in Spartanburg. Margaret Nelson says she is drinking her tea and minding her own business. Please and thank you. And drinking a spot of tea and minding her own business. That's how we like to do things. Sometimes, not all the times. Sometimes. Deborah Cox, how you doing, Debs? Debs, you all right? Pamela Sanchorin, good to see you as well. And Karen Black. O'Neill, Vanessa Yonette. All fancy names, all fancy names. Guys, we trust that your week is off to a fantastic start. And look, folks, you can't wait till things happen, you know. You got to make things happen. The week is only going to be as good as you put in some energy and some work and you plan and you execute on those plans as well. We're trusting God for a fantastic week for all of you guys, for a productive week. When you get to Friday, you must look back and say, yes, I accomplished a couple of things this week. Whether you got all done that you set out to accomplish, or even if you can say, I did a couple of things well this week. We hope that you would have a productive, energized, focused week, folks. Focus week, and may all your dreams and your goals be realized this week here. Good to see Coretta Fraser Kingston and Joylyn Cook is here too. Folks, lots of information. Those of you who would have joined the morning program, we would have said to you, and even over the weekend, Lata Mangeshkar passed, a tremendous uh, Bollywood singer there, Indian singer there, passed over the weekend. Tremendous talent, tremendous iconic status around the world. And again, we reflect on her life and times and her contributions to the world as we know it. Tremendous gift we had and blessing in Lata Mangeshkar. And again, our thoughts and prayers with family and friends, the fans, our thoughts and prayers with you guys. You wouldn't have another like Lata Mangeshkar in 3 lifetimes. Such was her talent. In 3 lifetimes. Wendy Rowland, we see you out there. We see you, Wendy. Wendy, we see you. Lots happening at the news end, folks. Lots happening in the news. And y'all know these boys here. Them boys come back. Them boys come back, folks. They come back. You all see what they're doing with this organization called EITI. It is the Extractive Industry and Transparency Initiative, the Guyana chapter. It's an international organization with chapters in various countries. And again, it gives oversight into the extractive industries and it is that check and balance and what transpires there. It's an oversight body and it's geared towards transparency of the extractive industry. Well, them boys gone and got rid of the CEO, the head of the local chapter of the EITI, the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. And this was Dr. Rudy Jadupat. Dr. Rudy Jadupat. And they're now going to replace him with a yes man from the belly of the PPP, Dr. Prem Mazir. Right? They're going to get rid of Dr. Jadupat to replace him with a sycophant. Folks, let's be real. Let's be real. And Dr. Jadupat is of the opinion, and he's absolutely right, that what they're doing here goes against the international order, goes against that. Where transparency is concerned, how you going to want transparency and you're putting cat to watch milk? You can put Prem Mazir, a PPP through and through. He served as their pro-chancellor at the University of Ghana during their tenure in office. And then he was replaced, I think, by Bibi Shadiq, another yes woman, right? All is well and good. You want to play your politics and so on. Fair enough, but play your politics elsewhere, not where transparency is required. Not where transparency is required and needed. Folks, you understand why it is we have dropped 2 places down on the international perception, sorry, the International Corruption Perception Index. You all understand why we have dropped two places down? The mic here is hitting me, and apologies for the little fumbling. You all understand why we have dropped 2 places down on that index? The mic and I fighting here. It is because of situations like this that has caused us to be where we are on the International Corruption Perception Index. We did the best in the years we've been measured on the Corruption Perception Index. We did the best in 2018, 2019 under the last government, the APNU AFC government. And those are the facts. However you want to parse that to sleep comfortable at night, those are the facts. We did the best then. How are we going to improve? And as a matter of fact, we improved 12 places on that index. How are we going to improve if we put somebody like Premiser there? How? Y'all tell me how. We're not going to improve because you know what? Friends and family. That is what it's about. Friends and family. Dan Graves, and folks, you think you understand what's happening here? Don Morgan and Marilyn King, Andrew Cuthbert and Karen Gordon. We understand what happening out here. Carol Jacobs. We got to rise above friends and family. We have to. If we can move this country forward, we got to rise above that. And there are institutions and there are entities that are put in place by none other than the Constitution of this country. None other than the Constitution of this country. And what do they go and do? What do they go and do? They dismantle all of these things. Is either they have not operationalized them since they have come into administration, or they underfund them. Some of them that are yet to be operationalized. You've got the Judicial Service Commission, the Public Service Commission, the Teaching Service Commission. And then you got the board of the recently passed Natural Resources Fund. The act was recently passed that governs the fund. Well, the act now looks as though you don't even need it because the act, for instance, says it is the board that dictates the spending of the fund. And it is a particular committee that is part of the fund that looks at the projects these monies are going to be spent on. None of that has been done, but the government done dig out the money. They're digging way out, people with the eye open. They're digging way out. So that fund has not been operationalized as well. The law has operationalized, and that's what they're using to dig way out. And then you got the Procurement Tribunal. You got the Integrity Commission. And even the Office of the Commissioner of Information. And that office is governed by the Access to Information Act. It's either underfunded or they have not been operationalized. How are we going to improve our standing on the Corruption Perception Index internationally? If this is our attitude, if this is our disposition to these bodies and entities that ensures oversight, how are we going to get better? How? But folks won't want to accept, won't want to rationalize. They can sign out now. We start talking about Granger and the APNU AFC government. They can sign out because, again, it is under this administration that, for instance, right, it was under the last administration that we improved our position on the Transparency Corruption Index. Sorry, the Corruption Perception Index. Right? The Corruption Perception Index. And also the Transparency International Index. It was under that government, the APNU AFC government, that we came off of the European Union and the European Union and the Commonwealth blacklists for money laundering and the countering the financing of terrorism. Those blacklists, we came off of them. And then we achieved tier one status, right? Tier one status when it concerns the fight against trafficking in persons. We achieved tier one status. And it was under the last regime. The DEA came here. And if you're old enough to understand, or as the Rastas like us say, to overstand, if you overstand, you'll understand those folks were trying for a long time to get the DEA office here, the Americans. And it was under Granger that happened. Now, you could, again, to sleep comfortable at nights, you could think whatever you want to think. You could. Those are the facts. Those are the facts. And on the other hand, what we have seen what we have been seeing is a complete reluctance of this current regime to operationalize those commissions and generally entities that allow for scrutiny, that allow for transparency, that allows for good governance, that gives supervision so that those things can be had. And those of you who've been paying keen attention to our programs, you would know, Sarah Lynch late last year, December last year, was calling on the current regime to implement measures and initiatives that focus on reducing corruption, that focuses on abolishing corruption. As a matter of fact, in a press statement dated December 9th, 2021, here is what the American ambassador said. Here is what the American ambassador, in that press statement dated the 9th of December, 2021, Sarah Lynch said, in 2018, the Guyana Public Service the Guyana Public Service Commission, where's my head today? The Guyana Public Service Commission was reconstituted after 13 years. APNU AFC came in 2015. This is Sarah Lynch in 2018. The Guyana Public Service Commission was reconstituted after a 13-year hiatus. This was a step towards ensuring fairness and transparency in the public service system. The government of Guyana also passed the Protected Disclosures Whistleblowers Act of 2018, which seeks to protect persons making disclosures from retribution from others, including within the public service. And she goes on, these kinds of legislative reforms are necessary parts of a successful plan to fight corruption. As I said, in this statement, Ambassador Sarah Lynch called on the current regime to declare, to express, to launch, to publish the measures they are using to combat corruption. The plans they have to combat corruption. Corruption is not just tax, Reducing corruption, mitigating corruption, preventing corruption, intercepting corruption is not just rhetoric, but action, meaningful action has to apply. Meaningful action. And that is why a lot of eyebrows were raised over the weekend when people saw Dr. Jadubat being removed as head for this body. Right? Lots of eyebrows were raised when people saw Dr. Jadubat being removed as head of the Guyana Extractive Industries and Transparency Initiative. It's cause for alarm. So how can we improve our standing? I heard the installed Minister of Tourism, Trade and Industry, Onish Walden, just last week in the Assembly, National Assembly that is, saying to the country that there's a perception that the PPP corrupt and racist, but there's no evidence. But the evidence is right here. You have all of these measures in place. safeguards, guardrails of our democracy, set up by the Constitution, and the operationalizing of them is so poor, so lackluster. So we got to do better than this, folks. We got to do better than this, right? Why did they remove Dr. Jadupat? We heard the installed Minister of Natural Resources, Vikram Bharat. He says because he got ties to the AFC. Oh, Father, we still on this? So man could be qualified, the right man for the job, got the experience, got the training. But because, in your estimation, he's associated with a political party, that disqualifies him from holding that post, how this country could ever move forward? You understand why the US is a first world country? And France and Germany and so on? Huh? If that's how we think, how we gonna move this country forward? Candidly, indeed, how? How? Y'all tell me, how could we move this country forward, Karen Gordon? Maureen Coppin Williams, how we gonna move it forward? One step forward, three step backwards and tremble. Dunsford Jeffrey, y'all ever say anything like this? Huh? That's the way the soca say. One step forward, two step backwards and tremble. Everybody tremble. I think that's what the song said. I don't know if we quoting it wrong. Huh? That's how this government operating. We cannot operate like this long term. We just cannot. One step forward, two step backward and tremble. Everybody tremble. No, no, no. We can't do like that. You can't run a country like that. We just cannot. We just cannot. And so, folks, it's up to us, We gotta keep the pressure on. You gotta be militant when they say boots on the ground, it's boots on the ground. Right? Boots on the ground is boots on the ground. One step forward, two step backward can't work. It cannot work at all. Right? One step forward, two step backward. No, no, no. There was a soca like that, Many years ago, when you bust on the dance floor, it's Brockway, but in actuality, you can't operate like that. You cannot operate like that. How you gonna operate, sir? Is a cook shop y'all running? Is a cook shop we running like that? No, we can't operate like that. Huh? Can't operate like that. Do we have that? The guys might try to pull it for us. Let me see if we can pull it up. So, folks, we trust that you guys are having a great day. Our discussion today is on corporal punishment. It's on corporal punishment. Is it time for corporal punishment to be abolished? It's like this one step forward, backward, two step backward story. Is it time? We got to abolish that. We have to abolish that. The same way, we will have to abolish that. The very same way. We got to abolish that. Youth and youth, don't be rude. Right? It's time to... We can't do that. Apologies there. The guys were trying to pull it up, but it seems as though we don't have the right one. One step forward, two backwards. That's what the song said. One step forward, two step backward and tremble. Everybody tremble. I keep telling y'all this podcasting, I gotta fall back. I gotta fall back. So we trust that you guys are having a great day. Trust that you guys are having a fantastic day. How are you guys doing out there? How are you guys doing out there, folks? Trust that each and every one of you having a great time. We're going to be joined by Coretta McDonald. And what's happening where you guys are? And what are your thoughts on our theme for today's discussion? Corporal punishment. Is it a time? Is it time to abolish, rather? Is it time to abolish? Trying to keep up with some of the conversation here. We're making it. We're not making it, folks. Is it time to abolish? That is the topic under consideration today. And we're going to have with us in short order the one and only Coretta MacDonald, Member of Parliament, and we want to know as well. We want to know as well. What are your thoughts out there? Correct, as you know, is the General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union, and Coretta also is a head teacher. And so, what a better person? The only better person we can get some parents. Some parents coming through right now. And Chris is going to join us momentarily on the broadcast. While we hold for Coretta, we ask you guys to share the live stream. Share the live stream and smash that emoji button as soon as you finish sharing the live stream. Smash the emoji button as soon as you're done sharing the live stream, folks. Again, really glad that all of you can join us. This issue here with corporal punishment is a serious one. As I said when the program start, oi, I don't hit me, children. Call me, call me. I can make me. I can fly to the school in a minute, quickly, swiftly. I can discipline my children. I ain't spoiling them. I can be the first to apply the rod, but that applying of the rod is a very subjective thing. In my humble estimation, it is very, very subjective, right? And I ain't want y'all to come and bail me out for the wrong reasons, right? I became a poison. This beating children and people children and so on, very, very subjective. There's a whole host of guidelines on it, a whole host of guidelines on the subject matter where it concerns the discipline of children in that school setting. As a matter of fact, our attention was drawn to what the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child defines as corporal punishment. They say it's any punishment in which physical force is used and intended to cause some degree of pain and discomfort, however light. In view, in the view rather, of this committee or of the committee, and this again is the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child, in the view of the committee, corporal punishment is invariably degrading. Yep, that's what they say. The United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child. Corporal punishment ultimately is degrading. So that is the international standard. So how do we find our place in that as a progressive society? You know, we subscribe to the charter of the United Nations. How do we find a way, forge a way forward? And that's the question we were asking. Has our thinking evolved on that subject matter? Has our thinking evolved on corporal punishment? What do you guys think? To beat people, children, or no? What is the thought out there? What are the thoughts out there? Some of y'all saying, if you have people cheering, come wrong, y'all funny. That's it. That is it. People cheering, come wrong, y'all funny. That is it. Right? That is it. So we're going to be joined by Coretta MacDonald again. Coretta is the General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union, and also she is a head teacher herself. And we are very, very privileged to be joined by Coretta on today's broadcast. I'm going to ask the guys for us to have our thingy. And Coretta is about to come in. Tremendously pleased to have her with us. Tremendously pleased to have her with us today. Folks, give her a second, and I want to welcome the one and only, the Honorable Member of Parliament, Coretta MacDonald, and more so the General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union. Coretta MacDonald, welcome to our program today.
Hi, Sharon. How are you doing? Good
I
afternoon
am
to you and good
good. I'm
afternoon
good.
to your
Folks,
viewers who are listening. Sharon, could you give me 2 minutes? Let me get closer to a point where you can hear me clearly.
no problem. Just put it on mute until you're ready, and then just come right back in as soon as you are. So Coretta is on this. We're doing this broadcast. We're rather bringing in Coretta on the sidelines of the sitting of the National Assembly. The estimates are being scrutinized all this week. We had a debate last week where we looked at what they were proposing and in a very broad way responded to what is in the budget. But today is going through what was literally and actually budgeted for, line by line, page by page, ask questions of the agencies, and we get responses from the subject minister. That's what's happening right now at the National Assembly, and that will be happening up until Thursday. I think they have cut the days. Again, transparency here. Transparency issues are at stake here. Good governance issues are at stake here. And so that is happening, and Coretta is joining us on the sidelines of that sitting of the National Assembly happening currently at the Orchard Chung Conference Center at Lillian. Coretta, do you have us again with Coretta's going to jump back in as soon as she can. But that's what's happening. All the transparency issues are at stake there. And guys, we have to find a way forward. Something's got to give. Something's got to give. Something's got to give. Something's got to give. Something's got to give.
Hi, Sharon. I'm here with you.
Thanks very much, Chris. I was just informing our our gentle and generous listeners that we're picking you up graciously. You're on the sidelines of the setting of the National Assembly, considering the estimates currently, and we're so grateful to spend this time with you. Coretta, our theme.
Yes,
Go right ahead, Coretta. Apologies.
yes. Like I was saying that I had to get to a point where you and the listening public could have been hearing me better.
Thank you so much.
We're still, we're still having some static, but I think it should be good.
We're going to live with what we have. Our theme for today, Coretta, is corporal punishment. Is it time to abolish? That's the question we're asking. And who better than someone that both straddles the teaching union, the teachers union rather, and that is the Guyana Teachers Union, the GTU, and you are a head teacher also, and a parent as well. So we've captured all three in one person, multi talented. We're grateful to have you here. Um, and again, this is against the backdrop of the story coming out of Cummins Lodge Secondary School recently, where a teacher was photographed flogging a student. Or we used to say back in the days, benching a student. Uh, Correct, what are your thoughts?
All right, let me
Initial thoughts.
say first of all, we're having very brilliant time here. I know that with all that is our teachers, that uh, they are still there and they're holding the fort. They are doing what they have chosen to do, and that is to teach and to empower our nation's children. With regards to corporal punishment, this has been an issue that we have been debating over the years.
Hmm.
We've not been able to get to a rigid point where we can safely say that we can abolish corporal punishment. However, what we have done over the years is to have crafted a document that still speaks to corporal punishment being allowed in school. And that document is clear. It says exactly when corporal punishment should be used. And of course, that's the last resort. In administering corporal punishment, it must be done based on instructions given by the head teacher or the teacher in charge of the school on that particular day at that particular time. The head teacher or whoever is in charge would decide on the amount of lashes, where the lashes ought to be administered, and that is supposed to be done within the confines of the head teacher's office. So clearly, let me say what transpired there. I think it was last week. It was very unfortunate. These issues are sometimes prompted based on um, a situation. But I want to warn our teachers that we should not allow or we should not take matters into our own hands. We should follow to the T documents that are so laid out with regards to policies on administering corporal punishment and every other policy that we have there. I know that we are going to talk, we are going to have the talks that, the children are in discipline. And yes, that's a fact. As a matter of fact, we have adults who are in discipline. We have politicians who are in discipline.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the disadvantages that the general public is having out there is that they don't hear the traits that we have in the National Assembly. But if they were to hear some of that, they'll be amazed at the things that those who are sitting as ministers, that they see. And so this is a whole transcending situation where we have top flowing right down to the bottom in discipline. We have lost our moral values in many, many instances. And so it is causing a rippling effect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
However, I don't want persons to say that I'm trying to say, well, if I see Tom doing wrong, then I should do wrong. But the fact is, we live in a society where everything is being copied. Almost everything is being copied. When we look at what is happening in our home situations, when we look at what is happening in our communities, one would get the direct feel that in many, many instances, our homes and our communities make us who we are. And so what is important at this time is that we've got to go back to what I usually say basics, where we've got to start from the homes. Yes, there are going to be a few black sheep running here and there, but we've got to start right back from the home. And the home plays a major role in determining how we operate in and out of the home situation. And so, very often, teachers are placed in situations with their backs against the wall, and sometimes because of inexperience, their only mode or their only way of dealing with situations is by resulting to corporal punishment. But that in itself has a flip side to it, which sometimes the damage control that you now have to do, the side that would have been flipped before,
Mm-hmm.
it 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 creates even more damage.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to say that we should be abolishing corporal punishment, because let me tell you, Sherrod, and many, many of our viewers who are listening, many of the persons who are listening would agree with me. There are some children, they only have to see a whip in front of them and they're straight. Some of them, they only have to have a lash or two and they're straight. While there are many others who you don't have to shout at them. You speak to them, they understand, and they carry through. But like everything else, all of us got we corporal punishment was administered to us at some point or the other in our lives. It didn't kill us. Let me say clearly, corporal punishment is not meant to create any form of demoralization. Corporal punishment is its intention is to bring into subjection behaviors that have gone outside of the norm. But again, we have to be very mindful and very tactful of how we administer.
Very well. Very well. Um, Chris, as we talk, I see two comments here. One from Carla Forbes, who says equal respect is needed in the classroom from students and from teachers, and parents must respect teachers
I I,
too.
I lost you there for a while.
I, I, I was saying there's a comment here on social media, on Facebook in particular, where Carla Forbes says equal respect is needed in the classroom for the student and from the teacher, and parents must respect teachers too. Here's Paul Singh saying that parents should teach their children to respect teachers and people in general. Paul Singh, that's a comment attributed to this person on social media. So
Mhm. And
seeming to agree with you.
yes, that's what I was just going to say. That while, if you remember earlier, I said we've got to start from what happens in the home, what happens in the community. And my way of saying that, like I indicated before, we've got to go back to basics. If you check what is happening in our homes, Sherrod, we've had breakdown in many of our homes. And so while breakdown doesn't come from poverty
Mm-hmm.
alone, but we have breakdown in homes where families are wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
where they take things for granted and believe that when you bestow your children and you shower them with everything, they're going to be well mannered, they're going to be very polite, they're going to be courteous, they're going to behave like angels in school. But again, peer pressure has a lot to do with it. And so in the homes, we've got to ensure that as mothers, whether you're a single mother or you're a nuclear family, you've got to ensure that you take time to talk with your children. I always advocate that parents ought to be their children's best friends. You must be your child's friend so your child can come home to talk about just about anything with you. But what we found happening in the society is that mommy running to get this, that, the other done because she got to put the food on the table because daddy is absent. And in the instances where daddy is present and mommy is present, we find so much time to do all sorts of things that we feel okay to put the food on the table, buy a laptop, buy a computer, um, buy a tablet, buy a phone. You got fancy AC rooms and so on. That is all to it. But we've got to go back to the days when we have to when we start learning to speak to our children, find out what is happening with them, discuss issues, create scenarios, and let's have conversations on them. And you don't have to be a very intelligent parent to do that. In your simple language, you can speak to your children. We've got to go back to the days where our children respect elders. Sherrod, you would agree with me, and many others out there would agree with me. When we were growing up, everybody was uncle this and auntie this and cousin somebody, and it was your duty to say good morning to elders when you see them down the streets. But what we find happening now, everybody is a man, everybody is a woman, whether you're 4 or 5 or 8, and we allow our children to be involved, like the old people would say, little children should not be involved in big people's story and in big people conversations. But we find that happening now. And so that in itself would have
Mm-hmm.
caused our children in some instances to
Mm-hmm.
feel that they are about the same age with adults, so they can talk to anybody anyhow. They can do whatever they feel like doing without any consequences being added to it. But we've got to understand that actions have consequences. If we do things that are positive, we'll have positive results in most cases. If we portray negative behaviors, then they have negative consequences that are going to follow us. And so I am saying all of this to say to this government and to every adult out there that we've got to be able to project uh, programs that would be geared to bringing our young people back to where they ought to be. I know the term back, people would want to say, why should I bring it back? But let's return our young people to where we ought to be. Groom them in such a way that it wouldn't take anything much out of them to say good morning, good afternoon, thank you, excuse me. And it is from those little gaps and those little tasks that we would be able to see a remodeling of our society when it comes to our young people, when it comes to the way adults behave, when it comes to the way we behave in our workplaces, because it's all over. And so you wouldn't have corporal punishment being administered in the workplaces because you're dealing with adults, but you have other forms of drastic actions that are being meted out to workers in the workplaces. But to wrap this up, Sherrod, we have got to get back to the days where my child is your child and your child is my child, and the children are our children, so that we can speak to them, we can scold them down the road, and that would prevent us from having all the bus riding. That would prevent us from having all the lingering
Yep.
on the bus
Yep.
park.
Yep.
That would prevent us from having children going to school with weapons, thinking that that's the only way they can protect themselves, and by flashing a weapon, that's the way to protect yourself, and that's the way to resolve issues. We have got to go back to the bargaining table because we've seen where we went wrong. So we've got to go back to the bargaining table to start drawing that map again. and to putting in the little red dots and the little green dots and the little blue dots and the little yellow dots to say where we are going to be going in another 5 years. If we don't do that, then we'll have a society that is lost, a group, a generation, or two or three of young people who cannot sit and reason out things for themselves. And that in itself, Sharon, is frightening.
Yep. And
That is frightening.
General Secretary of the Ghana Teachers Union, Christian McDonald, we are running a poll on our Facebook page, one of our Facebook pages that we're streaming to at Sharon Avery Duncan. And we're asking the question, should corporal punishment be abolished? And we're watching at the back end at the numbers. And the yes are 42%, the no are 42%. So it's evenly split there, Coretta. And those persons who were saying they're not sure are at 15%. So it's an even split. People are divided on this issue. If you see that poll pop up in the comment section or pop up in your on your profile there, do click one of those responses so we can see what you guys think the result should be on corporal punishment. Chris, I want to circle back to something that you said early on. You said what you were going through the procedure, and I don't know if I can put you on the spot if you might have that document at hand and walk us through what the procedure is. I think you mentioned the head teacher, deputy head, and so on can apply corporal punishment or they can delegate. But I think the document even spells out the length of the whip or the swat or whatever it is that is allowed to use to punish the child in the local instance. Talk to us a little bit more about that procedure. That's what I really want to get to.
All right. Sure. The thing is, that document is, or it ought to be present in every school. And that document spells everything out clearly. The size of the whip that is supposed to be used. It has, as a matter of fact, it talks about the offenses. And based on the offenses, then it would decide whether you ought to be granted corporal punishment, whether you, not granted, administered corporal punishment, whether your parents are supposed to be called in, whether you do little chores around the school. So it's a comprehensive document. It doesn't only speak to administering lashes, it's a comprehensive
Mhm.
document.
Mhm.
Now, again, based on the offenses, the penalty is applied. But when we talk directly about corporal punishment, this document is clear. If there are female students involved, then a male would not be allowed to administer corporal punishment. If they're males, then we can have either females or male or female teachers administering corporal punishment in the presence of the head teacher or the teacher who's performing the duties as head teacher for that day. It talks about how many lashes, where, and how. So the document is clear.
Wow, wow. And you mentioned something very interesting that we should factor into our discussion as well. Apologies. You said it's a comprehensive document, and I would hazard a guess that corporal punishment is on the far end of the spectrum on measures that you can use, as you say, to bring a child back into a respectful posture to the classroom setting, to the teacher, and all of that. What are some of the other things that are available? Some of the other tools, disciplinary tools that are available to the teacher before we get to corporal punishment?
Well, like I said, if the issue, all right, let's look at this one. If
Mhm.
it's an issue where a child is found with marijuana in school, then obviously that's not an offense where you're going to put lashes on that child. That's an issue where you'll have to call in the welfare department, you'll have to call the parents in, you'll have to get um, depending on maybe the amount and so on, it might require the intervention of the police. But these are all the procedures that you go through. Of course, that child would need counseling. In the case of administering corporal punishment for an offense, maybe the child was rude to the teacher in question. Maybe the child was bobbing and weaving, let me use those terms, in front of the teacher, in the class. And so the teacher grabbed the whip and decided that he was going to put lashes. But the thing is, um, I think what happened there with the teacher is that the teacher was thinking, rather than having to go to the head teacher, and here is a class of 20 children, leaving 19 there and having to go to the head teacher and to spend the time that you have to take to explain and all of that, it would have that would have killed the entire period. So that maybe the teacher took it upon himself to say, look, let me drop some lashes on him. If it's going to take up 5 minutes of my time, it will take up 5 minutes of my time, but I'll have the remainder of the time to teach my class. But as I was taking you through the paces, corporal punishment is the last resort. And so there are several things that we can do. You send the child to the head teacher's office in the company of, maybe if you have a prefect in the class, in the company of a prefect who is so able to accompany that student. Or you as the teacher, you leave what you're doing very quickly. You take the child to the office and you indicate to your head teacher if you need to at that point, the look, I'm teaching something at this time. I'm going to come to you in another 10 minutes, or at the end of the period, I'm going to come to you. But this child has misbehaved and we have to deal with it. In your absence, the head teacher would be able to interview that child to find out exactly what is happening. So by the time you would have returned, head teacher would have a fairly good understanding of what transpired in the class. So when you come to give your angle of the incident, then head teacher would be able to decide then whether the child, whether lashes are required, or whether the child would need to go and do what I would call some community service work around the school. Maybe collect the bins from the classroom, maybe write some lines. I'm sorry for what I did. Please forgive me. I'm not going to do that again. Or maybe the child would have to bring his or her parent in or parents in, and you have a talk with them. And then we can refer that child to the welfare department, where we expect counseling is going to be given. And over a period, you monitor the child over a period to check on his or her behavior.
Yep.
But I am not sure what caused this spontaneous reaction,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we saw, as we saw in the video.
Yeah.
But
And I
these are some of the processes that are outlined in the document that we ought to follow. And Sherrod, allow me to take time off to say to our teachers, to caution our teachers, that you should not use authority that is not given to you. Be very mindful of what the documents are saying, and let's adhere to the documents. Because, the thing is, while a wrong is being committed, two wrongs don't make it right. And so let's not get involved in breaching policies, but let's get involved in adhering to policies and following what they say, lest we find ourselves in contravention of the policies or contravention of the laws.
you know
Teachers, your job is to teach, to empower, and to make our children better individuals. Your job is not to administer corporal punishment without given the kind of authority to do so. So take time off. We thank you for what you've been doing, even during this pandemic that we are faced with. But be mindful of what you do when it comes to policies that are laid out.
excellent. And JS, General Secretary of the Ghana Teachers Union, as I said, we've been running a poll at the back end, and it's interesting to see the result of this poll. And folks, if you're seeing, we have a small sample thus far based on the 100 persons who are watching us, a very, very small sample. But it says here that 37% of the persons responding says yes, it should be abolished, and 52% says no, corporal punishment should not be abolished. And we're going to share it with you guys in a second. 12% says they are not sure. If you see that poll popping up on your screen where you are, click one of the options there, and let's get a good sense of what your thoughts are. Generally, those of you who are watching on corporal punishment, but it seems that they no have it currently. Those persons who are saying no, and folks, I would advise you, that when you click yes or no, we can see who is clicking yes, who is clicking no. So have no fear that we know your position on corporal punishment. That is private. You all we're seeing is the percentage and the amount of persons who have said yes or no, and that's why we know it's a small percentage of the total number of persons who are watching us currently. But interesting nonetheless, 52% of the persons who responded said no, corporal punishment should not be abolished. Quite the other side of this discussion I want to focus on.
But Sharon,
Yes,
let me just kick in on that.
go right ahead.
I believe the persons who have ticked no, they are doing that against the backdrop that we don't have the facilities in place to abolish corporal punishment.
Hmm.
So if we
Hmm.
were to abolish corporal punishment completely without having proper systems in place to replace corporal punishment, then we'll have mayhem in the schools. So I think it's based on that that persons are saying no. And so let me use this opportunity to advocate that we start looking at other alternatives that we are going to use, whether we're going to use it as a pilot. Of course, we have to use it as a pilot, and then we are going to use it full scale,
Hmm. Hmm.
but putting proper systems in place that would cushion the removal of corporal punishment. And I want to say to our parents, I be deemed very biased. I want to say to our
I was
parents,
coming there. That
let's
that that is where I was
buckle
coming.
down together. Let's buckle down together because you have a responsibility, and your responsibility is to ensure that your children are kept in line. And you know what I mean with
Correct. That
regards to
is
the
where I
way
was
they
coming.
behave.
Let me ask you a question because
I
you might be able to
Go
expand
ahead.
on it. Mind you, how the no's as against no to abolishing corporal punishment is now up at 54%. Again, guys, if you see the poll popping up where you are, click on one of those responses for us. So we get a good sense of those persons watching and responding to the poll, how you feel about corporal punishment. But I was going to say rather that a child doesn't just come into class and suddenly become deviant or dysfunctional in terms of the learning
Mm-hmm.
environment. Oftentimes are not. It's something that's happening in the home environment. And so I was going to say, and you talked a little bit about it, what should parents be doing? What does that model parent looks like? We understand all the challenges that ensue in society currently, but what does that model parent look like in terms of helping the school system with that child coming into that classroom for 8 hours on a daily basis? What does that parent look like or should be doing?
Well, Sherrod, if we were to go 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we would recognize that many, many, many of those parents, they were not as educated as some of the parents we have now. But you know what? They still kept their children intact. As a matter of fact, many of those parents raised their children single handedly. But you know what? Let me put it in this way, the camaraderie that was established in the home situation where we were all friends, even though there was this distinct line
Mm-hmm.
between mommy and children. But the
Mm-hmm.
camaraderie we had in our home, what is happening? What has happened at school today? How are you this morning? Uh, Go to school today. I expect you to learn. I want to see you do better than what I am doing. I want you to be my star girl or my star boy. And speaking positive things to their children. Those were the elements that helped to make our homes better homes 20, 25, 30 years ago. But like I said, we've gotten so busy and taken up with getting to work at for 7 o'clock and getting into work at this time and returning home late that we have lost touch with the core of being the whole essence of being a family. So many times our children see us when we're dashing out, and by the time we get in, they're asleep. And if you have to tap them, they oh you get a weary tap and something. But we have got to make time to be the parents we ought to be. We don't have to be wealthy. You don't have to be educated, but just good morning. Thank you. Excuse me, please. Don't remove things that are not yours. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want you to bring home anything that don't belong to you. Okay, I notice you have some friends and these boys are using indecent language. I don't want you to be playing with them unless you can correct them, because if you don't do that, people will judge you the same as your friends. And so these are the things that we have to say to our children to be able to bring them in line. We don't have to be wealthy. We don't have to be fully educated or highly educated. Let me say that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Fantastic, fantastic. And I dare say it's an aspiration that we can all strive to as parents. As I said, Coretta herself is a parent, a head teacher, and also general secretary of the Ghana Teachers Union. So I thought, who better to be able to navigate such a topic? And I think um, uh, um, the general secretary has hit all of the notes. And as a parent, we have our part to play as well. And you cannot over emphasize that. I found as a parent too often that persons send their children to school and it's like a daycare. Once you go through the door, there's no interest from the parent. What happens after that point, right?
Well,
And so we as
Sh-
parents got a big role to play. Yes.
Sherrod, as a parent, or as Coretta McDonald, an individual first, when I went to school, I got lashes, plenty lashes too. And the most I could remember getting was from my mother because she was a teacher and I happened to be in her class. But
Wow.
that that did not um, throw me over the banister, if I can use those
Hmm,
words,
hmm.
into making me an individual that I wasn't supposed to be. It kept me in line. It allowed me to understand that I had to be here. I had to be doing this, and I had to be doing that. Of course, my mom was over the wall because I am the teacher in this class and this is my daughter, and you have to shine. You have to always be at the top. But let me say to our parents that your children don't have to be at the top. They don't have to be geniuses to behave well.
Yep,
And
yep.
these are the things that we have to teach our children. One thing I forgot is that as parents, we've got to teach our children to be contented. That sense of contentment is what would make you the individual that we want you to be, productive and responsible. That basic, that little factor there. But what we have found happening in our society is that many of our children and even some of our parents, maybe they're too young, but many of our parents and our children have been looking at, they've been watching movies, they've been watching celebrities here, and they try to mirror themselves off of these people. And so you have a celebrity using all kind of profanity, and your child is feeling that if I don't use one or two, I'm not going to be registered, or I'm not going to be looked at. But we have got to be able to teach our children that they are unique in their own ways. They are special. There is nobody else like them. And so they don't have to follow what others are doing to be counted, or they don't have to be standing in a crowd to be counted. And these very little things, um, like the little talk out there is hyping up your children every now and again works well for them. But as a parent, Sharon, my two sons, they know they can't bring in their school bags any eraser, any sharpener, or any pen,
Yep, yep,
or
yep,
any book that is not theirs.
yep.
My children understand. Of course, my children, they're not pies, but my children understand that if you were to misbehave in school, then
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to flog you, but lots and lots and lots and lots of the relaxation and lots of the benefits that you have, they are going to be withdrawn from you for a period of time until you understand that you have to conduct yourself in a certain manner. As a matter of fact, the last one, who is 6 years old, he would always remind his older brother that I am the son of a parliamentarian. And so when I walk the streets, people must notice me. And so I have to speak properly and I have to behave myself. And you have to do the same thing. And you see, we have got to be able to tell our children that you don't have to be the son of the prime minister, or the daughter of a parliamentarian to behave well. These are all supposed to be part of your growing up experience, part of our family orientation, part of what is expected of us. And so, parents, let me say to you, the responsibility is yours, heavily yours, to ensure that our children become the best that they ought to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Coretta MacDonald, General Secretary of the Ghana Teachers Union, and also the Honorable Member of Parliament. We couldn't ask for a better guest to navigate this very, very nuanced subject, and we think you did so ably. Thank you so much for your time today on the sidelines of the sitting
You're
of the
so
National
welcome.
Assembly. Thank you so much, Coretta. Folks, that's
Thank you,
our
Sharon.
program, and that's
Bye-bye.
our time with Coretta for today. And we're about to publish our poll. Again, it's a very small sampling from the viewership today, but we're going to publish it nonetheless. And check it out at your end. Again, it's 34% says yes, abolish the corporal punishment. 53% of the person who responded says no, don't abolish. And 13% said they're not sure. We're going to publish the results. And we have just published the result there, and hoping it's popping up at your end, guys, so that you can see what you have said for the poll. It should pop up at your end. The result, again, a small sampling of the poll, but so grateful for all of you who participated in this poll. We told you all, when you all come on our programs, you have to be active. You ain't just sitting and listening alone. That's why we say share the live stream. We say smash the emoji button. And we want you guys to do all of those things as well as responding to the poll. Again, the majority of persons who responded says no, don't abolish corporal punishment. That's a snapshot, folks. That is a snapshot, and we are so grateful. We are so grateful for all of you guys who would have responded. Again, there it is. We hope that you guys can see at your end. That in percentage is I know you guys can't see the percentage, but let me call it out for you. To those of you seeing at your end, it's 33% said yes, abolish corporal punishment. 54% says no, don't abolish it, and we had 13% saying not sure. Thank you for all of you who were active and wanted to be active and integrated into our program in that way, who responded to the poll. There you have it, folks. Folks, we got technology, we got to use it to our disposal. And we're so thankful. We is that sure you got to what do you call it? You have to engage. You got to engage the program. Share the live stream. Smash the emoji. We want to know your comments on corporal punishment and all. I don't think y'all just come in here and go back home. Come in here, watch and go back home. Margaret Nelson, we just coming and watching, go back home. Brenda Bradford, good to see you. Bull Page. Bull Page says I'm a madman to have such a pool. You see all kinds of comments we have here. Bullpage is method to the madness. Method to the madness. Method to the madness. Nonetheless, the majority of persons who responded to the poll, not the majority of persons who watched the program just now, but who responded to the poll says no. You see, folks, if you don't get engaged, you don't have a voice. That's what really saying, you can't, if some of you say, oh, shucks, I should have smashed that button there and says no. Don't abolish or abolish. But folks, you're going to be seeing more polls like that on these programs as we try to gauge how you guys think at that end. Good to see you. Bull Page says, I am the boss. Bull Page, if you want boss, you are the boss. If you're feeling bossy, you are the boss. Verda France, we see you, Verda France. Pamela Dover, we see you as well. Diane Gravesandi, we see you too. Errol James, we see you as well. Folks, thanks for joining the broadcast today. You know we cannot do these programs without you. It is you, the viewers, who empower us, who buoy us, who lift us up to do program after program. We are here for you guys, and we want to thank all of those who partner with us on a daily basis, on a weekly, on a monthly basis. We need so many of you to so many more of you to come on board and to partner with us so we can build out these programs, whether it's the affiliate FYI for your information in the morning. It's this program below the belt. Middays, it's the In the Ring program. In the evening, it's our website, Credible Sources. We need you guys. We need you guys to come on board or to come back on board and keep coming on board to help us to do more of these programs. We know how much they mean to you guys, and you mean the world to us. We have the Cash App platform available for those of you guys who want to contribute via Cash App to our program on a monthly basis to partner with us like that. It's a dollar sign in the ring 592. That's our Cash App handle. The dollar sign in the ring 592. And at PayPal and at Zelle, it's one email for both platforms. One email for both platforms is in the ring 592 at gmail.com. At Zelle and PayPal, it's in the ring 592 at gmail.com. We're available via the MMG system. That's the GT&T system. Our number there is 627-6963. 627-6963. Available via MoneyGram and Western Union as well, our friends, via MoneyGram and Western Union. You need any guidance, you need any help to navigate these platforms, our number to call is that very MMG number via WhatsApp, 627-6963. Via WhatsApp, you want to message us there, 627-6963, and we'll let you know how you can come on board and partner via one of these platforms. Thanks for joining us, guys. That's our time for this midday. Trust you guys have a fantastic lunch, whatever you guys are going to have. Or we hope you guys had a great lunch and it does good to your bodies. We hope it does good to your bodies, guys. That's our time today. Back in the ring this evening at 8. Good to see you, Brent Mentor. Good to see you, Massey, Donna Massey, Pamela Dover, Andrew Cuthbert, Bernadette James. That's our times. Have a fantastic afternoon, guys. Have a fantastic, big, beautiful afternoon. And thanks for joining our podcast, Below the Belt. Who vex, who vex lose. Take care now. See you guys soon.